Welcome. I'm glad you could be with me today. I have some really important things to share with you. They may have a lot to do with who you are and why you're in the world today. They certainly have a lot to do with where the world is going and even what we're going through right now. Facing a global pandemic, unlike anything humanity has faced in over 100 years. We're at the threshold of immense change, and no matter how we try to understand that in the moment, I think within our emotions we can feel an underlying anxiety about the future, a concern. Like we're standing at the threshold of something that we can't fully see, but we can feel. Because often feeling precedes understanding. So, the pandemic is but the first of great waves that have been building for a long time. Great environmental change, great social change, great economic change. And while many people live in denial, don't want to believe it's happening, people are facing the consequences of this with each passing day. It's monumental. It can feel overwhelming. It can make you feel very frightened if you allow yourself to face it squarely. But this is the world we have come to serve. From a higher standpoint, we were all sent into the world to be in the world under these very circumstances. And it's these very circumstances that in time can call out of us our greater gifts, our greater contribution to the world. The very things we might want to avoid or deny are so often the very things that can really redeem us, strengthen us, and make us whole. So I invite you today to face these realities within yourself, within the world around you, to place your eyes upon the world and within yourself in a new way. For to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear is really something different than what most people think. To see things emerging over the horizon objectively, without trying to define it or make it bigger than it is or less than it is, to be able to discern within yourself the thread of truth amidst all the other ideas, all the persuasions, all the influences of your life, that thread of truth, which today I will call knowledge, the thread of truth, like a golden thread that weaves through all the coarse fabric of our daily experience. As part of the new message from God to teach us the way of knowledge. And I'll talk about what knowledge is and its pivotal role in our life. Facing a world of cataclysmic change, greater than anything that has ever been experienced in the time of human civilization. To see this and feel this can be very challenging at the outset, but you also have allowed yourself now to engage in a larger arena of life, which you were probably sent here to engage in. Not being lost in personal pursuits, romances, conspiracy theories, all forms of escape, of which the world offers many. You're now facing something that is coming, that is already here, and that is growing. Those who have the courage and the humility to do this will be able to prepare for the future, a future unlike the past. They will not be the victims of this future. They will be the beneficiaries and the servants of this future. But first you must face that which is coming before you even know what to do with your life and how to proceed. We're facing a changing world, a world that will heat and dry. The seas will rise, the crops will fail. Cities will have to be abandoned. Whole regions of the world will have to be abandoned, for there will be no water there. This is not some future century I'm talking about. This is this century, decades ahead, coming over the horizon. You don't need a new message from God to see this broadly, but a new message of God teaches you why it's coming and how to prepare. In such a way that your true gifts and your true nature can emerge in the face of such great challenge. While others run away and hide, or hide behind their religious beliefs or their conspiratorial ideas or you must face these things. Here you cannot do what everyone else does. You have to do what you must do. That is your duty and that is your task. The next great thing that is happening for humanity is we're facing a universe full of intelligent life. Not from our forays into space, but from intervention in the world today. And I use the word intervention very clearly because it is not a visitation we're experiencing. It's a clandestine intervention. Here, to gain a footing in our world at a time of great human crisis and division, time of great environmental disruption, a time when people will feel increasingly helpless or hopeless, losing faith in themselves and their governments and their traditions. It's an opportunity that those who watch our world from afar have been waiting for so very long. The new world reality and our emergence into the greater community are the two things that could destroy human civilization and end the prospect of freedom in our world forever. Forever. Only something this big could bring a new message of God into the world. For the great traditions that we have today are sufficient enough to teach us how to live honorably and ethically and practice forgiveness, service, charity, faithfulness. But the great traditions of the past cannot prepare us for a new world reality or emergence into a universe full of intelligent life, which the new message calls the greater community. In this, only God can prepare us, for we cannot prepare ourselves really for a new world reality. Though there are many visionary people today who are seeing what has to be done, people are not preparing. Governments are not preparing, not really. We're just trying to keep living the way we've always lived in the face of so many undermining challenges. Even the pandemic today will change how we live, will change the economies of the world, will change our social structures. It has that power, and it's far from over. In saying these things, I'm not being fearful or negative. I'm just being clear and objective with you. This is not about love and fear. This is about seeing clearly. This is about responding to reality. Just like the birds of the field and the birds of the air are always watching their environment, humanity has lost this tendency, and so people are living in their own self-created worlds, unaware of what is obviously coming, unaware of the signs that nature is giving to us every day. So when the great tsunami comes, the animals flee up into the highlands while the people are still sleeping on the beach. We have seen this. It's a sign of things to come. That is why God must speak again. No one on earth knows what life is like in the universe. And if you don't know what life is like in our local universe, you will never understand why someone would come here, who they might be, what they seek, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. Our movies about space tell us nothing about this. So God must intervene because we cannot prepare for a new world reality and we cannot know what life is like in the universe. A life that is infiltrating our world in very subtle but significant ways. And who is God that I speak of? God is the source of all life. all life in this galaxy and other galaxies and other dimensions, and of the timeless reality beyond physical existence. Our world is but like a grain of sand on a beach as far as the eye can see. Our religions are prescriptions to develop human qualities. They cannot capture the magnitude of creation at this level. But the new message of God must reveal to us life in the universe, in our local universe. Open the doors to what has never been seen before. For only God knows what exists everywhere and what is happening everywhere, beyond what any race can see or know. Bringing us wisdom and knowledge from the universe, as well as calling upon our innate wisdom and knowledge that we hold in that golden thread within us, knowledge within us. Therefore, the new message of God is not an offshoot of a pre-existing condition. It's not a reform movement for one of our traditions. It's a whole new platform of understanding, a whole new way of seeing yourself, others, the world, and our destiny. You may pray for God for many things, but in facing the things I speak of, nothing can compare with the endowment of knowledge within us and God's new message for the world. This message is not just for the elite or the privileged or the wealthy nations. It's for people of all nations and faith traditions at all stations of life. It's not here to replace the world's religions, but to give them a whole other dimension, so they may unite, having all come from God initially, and having all been changed by man over time. My mission is to bring this revelation into the world. It's taken me a very long time to receive it. It's required me to give up my life, whatever ambitions I had, whatever goals I had, to receive this as it unfolded itself mysteriously over a great length of time. For I was being tested during these times to see if I would be true to this role, a role for which I was sent, a role which I must proclaim, must be tested for years, where many things were required of me. The demands of the new message are not great, except that it asks us to be really honest. It calls for a deeper level of honesty that you rarely see in the world today, which isn't honesty of just expressing what you think or sharing your feelings. It's really about sharing what is most deeply true within you, exercising greater discernment, greater compassion from the power of this knowledge that lives within you, that represents your greater life within and beyond this world. Here there are no heroes to worship. There's no judgment day. There's no hell and damnation. You will not find these things in God's new message to the world. For these are creations of man to corral people into belief, to speak to an illiterate ancient world that needed such things in order to become focused and united. But the new message of God speaks to a global community now, global communication, global commerce, and growing global awareness. We do not need to speak of hell and damnation now. But the crisis of the world is upon us. And the great change that is coming so quickly that the world could be unrecognizable in 20 years. So this is a great calling going out for the world, for people of conscience, for people who have a spiritual foundation, for people who care about the welfare of their people, their country and other countries, are people who have a sense of duty and responsibility being in the world. It's not merely a place to try to lose yourself in fantasy and obsession. Great calling going out into the world. Because God knows without knowledge, people will be lost in confusion, will live haphazard lives, will be subject to dangerous forces of oppression, both beyond them and within them, which has created the world we see today, which is fractured and divisive, contentious. Even the great traditions are divisive and contentious between each other and within each other. They would have to unite sufficiently to help humanity now prepare for the great change that is coming. So the new message provides a pathway to preparation. A preparation how to live at the level of knowledge, how to live clearly, compassionately, how to be able to discern your true direction in life amongst all the other persuasions that live within you and around you. It's like escaping from a jungle where you can't see your way out, but there is a way out. It's a way to live the inspired and determined life, not a life of dreaming and disappointment, a life of wasted time, wasted life, wasted endeavors. It answers our inner needs that we have been struggling with and the great needs of humanity that continue to this day. It's a divine solution to the crises of the world. We don't have a solution to the crises of the world. God must intervene because we're in a time of great need, beyond our capabilities, beyond what people are willing to do at this moment. The new message is the largest revelation ever given to this world, given at a time when the world is educated and literate, a world of high technology, global interaction. It has been revealed to me in over 800 encounters, all of which were remarkable and almost indescribable. These things that I speak of today, you would have to explore for yourself to understand. Because this is not about a belief. Believing is easy. Disbelieving is easy. But having a direct experience of something speaks to you, reaches inside of you. That's rare. This can only be recognized. You can walk around it, you can doubt it, you can dispute it, you can run away from it. But until you come to explore it for yourself, you will never know if it really speaks to you, if it's really important to you. The revelation was received to me by a great presence overtaking me. Its voice I recorded. It was transcribed. It's been put into a series of books. We currently have 20 of these books circulating the world. Over 20 of them, with more to come. A study of practice is given in a divine text called Steps to Knowledge, received in a state of revelation. It's now being translated in over 34 countries. Being studied, translated in over 34 languages, studied in 134 countries. Why? Because people recognize something in it that spoke to them. Not just intellectually, not just conform to their ideas, but reach them in their heart. I'm speaking to your heart now, not to your ideology. People are lost in their ideologies. We have war over our ideologies. What really unites us is happening at a deeper level. So the new message is here to prepare us for the great ways of change. to prepare us for our encounter with life in the universe and our emergence into that greater community of life in the universe. It is here to give us a new God experience, not a fearful God, but a God that's our origin, our source, to which we're uniquely and forever connected. It's to give us the experience of knowledge, which is how God will speak to us, through that part of us that is still connected to our source. A deeper intelligence beneath the surface of our mind, beyond the reach of our worldly intellect. This is what will end spiritual poverty in the world. This is what will allow people to unite to their sacred engagement internally. Give them the eyes to see, heart to know what to do within their changing circumstances. Not just for those who are free, but for those who are unfree. For those who have no freedom. For those who have no resources. Knowledge can still guide and speak to them as well. We don't really know our way to God. No religion can really take you to God because only God knows the way to God. We study the great traditions, if you do have a great tradition, because it helps us to live a clean, healthy, and fulfilling life. But here God is coming to us, as God has come into the world at previous times of great change and great need. You come to know God by following what God gives you to do. And what God really gives you to do flows through this golden thread within you, which can never be severed. No amount of sin and degradation can sever it. That's why in the end, God's plan is to save everyone. You can't have hell forever because you're still connected to God. And that connection can never be fully broken. So what I'm giving you here today and inviting you to explore is your connection to God. Not the level of ideology, but more innately within yourself. Your deepest feelings. How you really feel about yourself and your life. Are you living the life you know you must live? Where are you losing energy to people, places, and things? Energy that you're going to need now to get your life on balance, to prepare it for the great changes that are coming. They're going to come whether you're prepared or not. So it's so important to have this preparation. In this, the new message is but God's next installment in the world, bringing us now a higher level of intelligence, giving us now the ability to deal with the great change in the world and our encounter with life beyond the world. It can be studied through the practice of steps to knowledge and reading the revelation. It can also be studied by hearing the voice of revelation, the voice that spoke to me that was recorded. Such a voice that spoke to Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad. You can now hear. For it was never possible before, for obvious reasons. But you can now hear this voice. I'm making it free available to the world because I want the world to hear this voice, the voice of revelation, the voice of the angelic assembly, all speaking as one. Not one individual, not one personality, no. This is the assembly that watches over our world, speaking as one voice, in the voice of revelation. A voice you can't trace to any nation or culture, but a voice that is powerful, clear, and compassionate. A voice that is uncorrupted. A voice that, unlike any other voice you will ever hear. For the sound and the word are now in the world. God has spoken again. For those who are the first responders, I give thanks for your assistance in helping me bring this to the world, for I cannot do this alone. It's being made free online, being through translation as well, to reach as many people as it can in the time we have. Time is of the essence now. We don't have a century to figure this out. We don't even have decades to figure this out. Life is moving. The world is changing on its own now. We have already changed it enough that it is changing on its own. It's my task and duty to bring the new revelation to as many people as I can in my remaining years of life. And to set in motion the pure revelation, to preserve it so it does not become contaminated, misused, broken apart, and associated with other things. So I have this opportunity while I'm still in the world to speak to you clearly in this way, to bring to you the revelation from God, a revelation for all people, not just for this time, but for the times to come. A revelation that will be as relevant 200 years from now as it is today. A revelation that honors all the great traditions and adds to them and continues them in our times and in the times to come. For the blessing is with us. I ask you to be with the blessing, to experience it for yourself. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you, Marshall. Wow, that's quite a message, and having studied this new message, I can say it's quite a message as well. What Marshall is doing here with you and with us is opening up a window on a process of revelation that's been underway for almost 38 years. So I'm 36 years old. So you can look into my face and see what 38 years of opening yourself to a divine presence, receiving a divine answer, receiving over 9,000 pages of a divine answer might be like, and how long that really took, and what kind of a journey Marshall has walked. So you have the privilege of being at the end of that 38-year process as it stands today. And you may not know of all that's transpired to bring Marshall here to speak with you today. But it's a lot, I can say. It's been a long journey. Some things Marshall said that Patricia and I would like to highlight, maybe that you could take home with you. In the beginning of his message, he spoke of a thread of truth running through your life. A thread of truth running through your life, which he and the new message call knowledge, the knowing mind within you. Your true spiritual identity, which was with you when you were born into this world. It's been with you across your whole journey in the world, no matter how difficult it's been, and it's with you today. And it is the emergence of that spiritual identity through your human identity, your human self, that represents the promise of this time and the great need of this time in the world. And it is to activate that process, enable that process, and allow it to advance and ultimately be expressed that the new message is here. It's in your hands now. And literally it can be in your hands. Patricia and I are going to point you to where you can read and hear the revelation. And those on these various platforms watching with you can share a link to where you can go right after this broadcast ends in maybe 5 minutes and go start reading something of the new message from God. Open up this book, this new book of revelation from God, and see what it has to say to you. Marshall also spoke of 2 things that could end the prospect of freedom in this world forever. what could end the prospect of freedom forever? I'm not sure we have our eyes on that. People may have great fears about government or secret states or secret groups or what have you, but that's not it. It's not it. That's the smokescreen. What's really behind that smokescreen that actually has the power to end freedom in this world forever? Marshall spoke of those two things today, and the new message reveals them extensively. He also said, for those of you who are the first responders, and I want you to take that home and be with that. Are you meant to be a first responder? The world is showing us how important first responders are right now with this pandemic that is raging in every country in the world, uncontrollably right now. The first responders, people who are laying themselves down, their energy, their time, their skill, so that others may live. So in the context of these two great threats to human freedom, this great opportunity in the world, the potential for knowledge to emerge in your life, you can be a first responder within those needs and crises and opportunities. And as you open the books of the new message, you will see this word, response. And you will see this question, can you respond? Hundreds of times you will see that. Why is that? Because this is a revelation about forces of change that have the power to make or break humanity. And certain people need to respond to that, to become a first responder. And believe me, there are not many first responders. Their ranks are thin. So do you need to join that community of people who are responding? Something to take home. Yeah, there's a lot more.
Oh, there's so much. You know, Marshall, and not just Marshall, certainly, the entire Revelation is continuing to echo to us that you see things. You see things. What do you see? What do you see? You are not lost. How are you not lost? You are still moving. You are still questioning. You are still looking. It's calling to you. This revelation is calling to you into that which is deep within you. You know, almost like the nuclear power generator within you, that we have the need, we must reconnect with this source of power within us, source of certainty. Though we don't feel fully certain anywhere near it up on the surface, there is something compelling us, and you can feel this, and you have throughout your life. This is this knowledge that the new message speaks of. You know, the new message speaks of a global community. It's time to consider us in this way. Some of us see this and have seen this for a very long time. It's time to go there. We must begin to go there. We each actually, in a very unique way, in a very native way, are prepared to go there. This is part of this compelling force. This is what's calling us from the new message. To unite within ourselves to begin with. So, it's good. Thank you.
So there's a lot for you to explore from here on out. The new message from God is being released free online to people in the world. Again, it's a message for people of all religions, no religions, all nations, all ethnicities, cultures, races. It is fundamentally a communication from a divine source. That's what it is. So we invite you to go hear that communication, read that communication. Up at newmessage.org, we have the Library of Revelations. As Marshall said, there are numerous books of Revelation that are there. We're preparing the next book of Revelation as we speak to be released in the next few months. So more is coming out, and we invite you to dive in and see what this message has to say to you. Expose yourself to a communication from the divine. See what it activates in you. See what chords it plucks, you know, as if you're a musical instrument that hasn't been played in decades, that's gone dead, it's covered in dust. Well, the divine knows how to play these deeper chords within us and to make music out of us and with us in our lives. And so if you're feeling that sense of deadness, lifelessness, lack of vitality, confusion, the ambivalence about even being alive, which I know many, many, many people are feeling, then expose yourself to this communication. See how you resonate with it. See what harmony is created, because the world needs that. The world needs harmonious communication. It needs melody. It needs something to come out of us as human beings. And there are certainly many forces at work that are trying to obstruct that communication, or even suppress it, or if anything, just muddy it and turn it into something dissonant. So this is an opportunity to step out of dissonance, all those movements of dissonance, those ideologies of dissonance, and move into something that is inherently consonant. I mean, this is the sound and the word of the divine that's been moving in the world for thousands of years, moving in the universe for millions of years. This is now an opportunity to step into that stream, that movement of communication, and be a part of that. So as you come to read the new message and meet others who are studying it, and join the community site, which is an open environment online for people who are reading and studying this, you will find consonance, people who are becoming consonant with this higher power. So in a world of dissonance, come be a part of consonance and be a first responder in that way.
Wonderful. All the revelations are freely available to you and to everyone. And they're being translated, as Marshall said, into something like 34 languages, all based on absolute inspiration by those who found the new message and felt called to translate it in their native language. Can you imagine? So the revelation is immense, and yet it's incredibly intimate, and it's calling you to explore your lifelong experience of knowing, this golden thread that Marshall has referred to. Come, recall, experience, follow. This is what the new message is calling to us. So.
Yes, and we also invite you to consider joining that community site and to meet others who are responding to this. You can do so at community.newmessage.org. Maybe somebody can post a link to that in the comments or the chat, wherever you're watching. We're having discussions to follow these broadcasts with Marshall, so we invite you to be a part of those ongoing. So there's a lot here. There's a lot here to explore. And we invite you to do so. This is an open message for all those who need to hear it. So thank you for joining Marshall today. Thank you for hearing and responding to this message. And we will see you as we go forward and as we step out into the world to bring this consonance and this harmony into this world who needs it desperately right now. So thank you for being here, and we will see you down the road.